What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
I was worried for my friends, so I kept quiet. I made sure to emphasize only that point. Let's not dwell on how I gave them bodies and names and stuff, if we could.
Well, I wasn't afraid of them, neither.
Even Ramirez was on my side. Hopefully everyone else wasn't too freaked out by this.
I believe your concerns were unnecessary, Sir Rimuru. If you have accepted them, then we all welcome them as our friends.
Yes, Benimaru is right. Nobody here would discriminate against others based on strength or appearance.
Benimaru smiled as he said it, Geld preaching stone-cold fact to me. They helped me banish my worries for good. Not even Shuna had any concerns about Diablo and the rest of the demons. The fact that they were still treating each other as they always had was proof of that.
Well, great, then. Now I feel bad for worrying so much.
You should have more faith in us.
Exactly. But I do have to thank you for worrying about us enough to assign Carrera and the rest to us.
It was a little awkward, but I was glad Benimaru and Geld accepted it. But what about Gabble and Gopta and the rest? They seemed to be doing fine, as far as I could tell, and let's hope they continue to be.
Well, we're all getting along well with Diablo. I'm sure it'll be okay.
Xian gave him her stamp of approval, not that I was ever worried about her.
What do you mean, Xian?
I mean exactly what I said. Diablo.
Xian, my first secretary, and Diablo, my second, glared at each other. Being called a primal sounds real pretentious, but this was how he mainly acted. Once again, I was relieved that I had worried over nothing. With that behind us, we discussed the day's events a bit longer.
I assigned Testarossa and Ultima to the field army because if the enemy had a Demon Lord class threat on their side, I thought we'd be in trouble. Then, well, they put in a little too much of an effort.
This was all thanks to that order I sent out, but I really didn't expect everyone to go this out of control. It was just so wild, so over the top, and so cool, too. They just annihilated an entire enemy army, and they didn't flinch even once.
Seems they got a little too excited and carried away, didn't they? I'll be sure to give them a good lesson about it later.
Diablo said cheerfully.
Keep it in moderation.
I didn't forget to add, but well. Diablo could take care of himself, and I was sure he'd continue educating them. Again, without overdoing it. Next up, we surveyed our damages. Just 2 hours after the start of battle, all the fighting was over. It looked like we had a lot of injured on our side, but as for the final damage report,
all casualties have reportedly been fully healed.
My cheery voice echoed across the control center. All the demons who had gone into battle had been given Tempest-made high potions, 10 per person. That allowed them to immediately heal most wounds. And that even applied to people I thought were dead at first. In fact, they were only playing possum, and even their severed limbs had already been fully healed with full potions. They were playing the decoy role with serious aplomb, just as Benimaru ordered them to.
I told you, didn't I? I told you not to worry.
You sure did. And I trusted you and everyone else, of course.
Everything went according to Benimaru's plan. The one random element he didn't expect, apparently, was the demon's performance. As a result of that, despite going through a lot of potions, we didn't suffer a single casualty. It was an utterly unbelievable way to win. That being said, we weren't totally unscathed. It seemed Gabble and Team Hirayu suffered some fairly serious bodily fatigue due to the side effects of the dragon body skill. I was pretty wowed by that move, but sure enough, the 10-minute time limit wasn't the only minus. The moment battle ended, the overexertion crashed on them like a tidal wave, and they all lay prone on the ground, as if paralyzed. This wasn't an injury, per se, so potions wouldn't help them. After taking in all those magicules and becoming so strong, maybe this was the body rejecting all that foreign matter out again. This fatigue penalty seemed to apply to all of Team Hirayu, not just Gabble, but I was fine with that. Best to have them think, you should be glad it wasn't worse, and leave them be. It would later transpire that this paralyzing condition lasted for around 24 hours, so after some debate, we decided to limit dragon body activations to no more than once every other day, tops. Their full strength scored them the win this time, but invoked that move at the wrong time, and it could come back to bite them. A real double-edged sword, you could say, so I advised Gabble to be very careful with that. Next we turned our attention to the Empire's side. The Magitank force led by Lieutenant General Gaster had 200,000 troops. Major General Faraga's Flying Combat Corps had 40,000. That, as confirmed by the wizard Gadra, was the first size of the Imperial forces. But we didn't take any POWs this time. They were all dead, around 240,000 in all. What a massacre. And look, it's not that my heart didn't ache over it. But when I became a demon lord, I did it by killing 20,000 people by my own hand. By this point, I guess I was just done making excuses. Either way, after killing all 240,000 members of this force, I guess their souls were being offered within me. A little while after battle began, I started feeling the souls accumulating at a frantic pace. This must be what collecting souls from the people working for you feels like, that classic demon lord perk. Thanks to that, I had an exact grasp of just how many enemy soldiers we beat. But, I mean, really, this many human souls? Because, like, 10,000 was enough to upgrade me from regular to true demon lord. What would 240,000 do to me? The answer: nothing. The moment I awakened to true demon lord, that must have been the end of the road. Makes sense. Otherwise, Guy Crimson would have been busy eradicating the entire human race, reaping souls all over the place. He kept the needless slaughter to a minimum because he instinctively knew there was nowhere higher to go from here. That was when I received an unexpected notice.
Report. The amount of acquired souls has exceeded the set limit. It is now possible to awaken subordinates connected to you via your soul lineage. The following people are eligible.
Pretty outrageous even by Raphael standards. Apparently, if you gave a set amount of souls to a qualified receiver, you could awaken them. I assumed capturing excess souls was pointless, but even if they didn't affect your own evolution, you could still use them to evolve the people under you. As Raphael put it, several people close to me had met the requirements for this awakening. Giving them the souls I had acquired would, it seemed, grant them the same kind of awakened strength that I enjoyed as a true demon lord. The number of souls required was 100,000. Sheesh. I didn't think 10 times would be needed to awaken someone else. No wonder nobody else knew about this until now. Maybe someone like Guy did, but who could say? Even if he did, it wasn't like he could execute on it all the time. Besides, it's a lot easier to befriend a demon lord and have him boost you up than try to do it yourself. Maybe that was how the Walpurgis got its start, a gathering of the big bosses, a way for Guy to see who was really worthy of joining up. But maybe there was some other reason for it. Maybe I was giving him too much credit, and he really didn't know after all. I couldn't dismiss that notion. At the very least, 100,000 souls was nothing to sniff at. It was killing an entire city, basically, so you couldn't be casual with it. Anyway, as of right then, I had around 250,000 extra souls on me, which would let me awaken 2 people. My pool of qualified subordinates: Ranga, Benimaru, Xian, Gabel, Geld, Diablo, Testarossa, Ultima, Carrera, Kumara, Zijin, and Adalman, 12 in all.
Create a soul corridor to evolve a subordinate? Yes, no.
Based on how Raphael put it, I guess I could awaken people even if I wasn't physically nearby. A soul corridor would allow my target and me to be unaffected by time and space, kind of like how Veldora and I used to be. It would also strengthen the bond between us, which wasn't a bad thing, either. So what now? In my case, awakening made me incomparably stronger than before. It evolved my unique skill, the Great Sage, into the ultimate skill, Raphael, Lord of Wisdom. If someone like Benimaru could evolve to that level, then I had no reason to hesitate. But hang on. What was the deal with that soul lineage thing? If I had to guess, it referred to the soul connection we had after I gave those people names. Naming a monster causes an evolution, and I definitely wasn't shy about doing that all the time. But I also knew it was kind of dangerous. I wasn't afraid to name with confidence because Raphael was now assessing the safety risks for me. Get it wrong, and I'd be stripped of all my power and maybe even die, that or be permanently weakened. In my case, I had Beelzebub's stomach, a tremendously useful skill, and I used it to store any excess magicules I had. If I was short, I could apparently borrow some from Veldora, too. But either way, Raphael managed all that, and I didn't need to worry about a thing. So unfair, isn't it? Normally you needed your own magicules to name something, which made it no small feat. I bet that was even true for Guy. That's why so few people were really connected to others at the soul. But as far as I was concerned, my friends were irreplaceable. I meant that, too. And I didn't mind experimenting on myself, but I wasn't gonna use my friends as guinea pigs. Raphael was recommending this option to me, so I didn't think it was dangerous, or I liked to believe that. But something told me this was playing with some serious fire. Besides, I didn't even know who I should pick, and there were a bunch of other problems, too. If magicule energy was the main factor, I really thought Zoe would qualify as well, but he didn't, so it made me wonder about the conditions for staging an awakening. Everything about it was so unclear, which really gave me pause. During my harvest festival, there was a long period of dormancy before I evolved, known as my initiation. There was no guarantee that wouldn't happen again this time, so I really wanted everything worked out in advance. Most of all, however, this war wasn't over yet. The Imperial Army's main force, some 700,000 of them, was on the march toward our capital. Going on wacky adventures during such urgent times really wasn't a good idea. So the answer is no for now. Let's leave this matter until things settle down. I ordered the goblins to go on salvage duty, collecting the intact tanks and surviving airship wreckage for me. Gabble and the Dragonutes would be knocked out for a while longer, so I had the Wyvern Riders transport all the stuff they got over to the Dwarven Kingdom. I wanted them to have all the recovery time I could give them. Instead, I sent the blue numbers to join up with the goblins. This was on Benimaru's suggestion. He said there was no need for them to hurry back to the capital, since even if they did, they wouldn't be in time for the final battle. Gazel, to his credit, also asked if I needed any reinforcements. I told him we had no problems for now. The dwarves, too, were still in the middle of war. Hostilities at the central entrance were done, but the east exit bordering the Empire was still staked out by an imperial force of some 60,000. Gadra identified them as Yuki's division, deployed as a diversionary tactic. But we didn't know what was to come, so I really didn't want to drop the ball with them. I was sure Gazel could take care of that. And in fact, I was sure he was fully on the case that very minute. Our mission right then was to settle the score with the Empire's main force. The opening battle was a huge victory for us, but the enemy still had a force far too enormous to downplay. In terms of numbers, we were at an overwhelming disadvantage, but my staff couldn't have been more motivated. Xian couldn't wait to get cracking, even saying stuff like,
I can't let those demons hog the spotlight. I have to go out there and show them what real strength means.
She sounded so frustrated. I almost wanted to ask exactly who was her enemy in this war.
Aren't you supposed to be my bodyguard?
The moment I pointed that out, she regained her composure in a big hurry. Nothing good comes from being too eager to fight, after all. But Xian wasn't the only one raring to go among us.
My lord. Ultima's been bragging shamelessly, saying our forces achieved a huge victory in the first round. I can't wait to get my turn. Would it be alright if I went over and put in a few choice words?
Carrera's cheeks were flushed as she flew into the control room. I had ordered her to stand by with the rest of the 2nd Army Corps, but I guess the demons were all thought communicationing with each other. Her fellow demons boasting about all the murder they committed must have been more than she could stand. But I couldn't have her working solo right then.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. Shout out to the new members of AnimeKouhai supporters: Jason Martin, Misael W. Hernandez, Zippy Soap, Draviel Swen, Christopher Mash, Edward Garcia, BFGR Ilex Y, Rory M. Brassel, Qwerty Stan, Sri Nanduri, Chris Ben, JDZ 2040, Owen Thompson, Sam Ward, Edmund. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.